Hello, spooky friends, and welcome to yet another episode of the Scariest Podcast.
Woo!
I'm Robin Grace, and this is Adam Diaz, and
Hello.
We're here to talk to you about some interesting topics.
Indeed we are. I'm pretty excited. I let some of the listeners over on Discord pick my topic this week, so
Wow.
Pretty excited about that. Robin, what are you going to be covering this week?
I'm going to be covering strange things of nature, because we've been dealing with some of it out here.
Yeah, a little bit, I'd say, so I don't want to spoil anything. I'll let you talk about it. I'm going to be covering the haunting of Heidi Wyrick, which actually has a connection to a haunted Hollywood sort of thing, but I'll get into that when it's my turn. I'd also like to remind you fine folks that are listening right now that if you're hoping to hear homegrown horrors, all of those are on our Storytime episodes. Those are personal stories that you share with us, and then we read back if you guys give us permission, which we always appreciate. Robin, let the folks know what a homegrown horror is.
So homegrown horrors are the experiences, supernatural, paranormal, spiritual, dreams even we've had, like night terrors, sleep paralysis, things like that. Those experiences that you have that you've gotten from, yourself, your friends, your parents, family members, aunts, uncles. Ask everyone. They have something.
Yeah. It's like everyone has a story. Sincerely, they really do.
Yeah, and you folks are gracious enough to share it with us, and we get to share it with the rest of our spooky friends, which is awesome.
Indeed we do. We record those episodes live, 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time over at youtube.com/scarish or twitch.tv/scarishpodcast. You can actually watch us, interact with us, tell us what you thought of the stories, talk with us, and we do a little thing at the end where we can give away some cheap free merch that has some scary stuff. It's official merch, but it's like stickers and stuff like that. But I guess you're going to have to watch live to find out what that is. And if you want to send us your story, you can. You email storytime@scarish.com. You can also go to our website, which is scarish.com, and click on Contact Us, send it that way, or hit us up on any of our social medias, facebook.com/scarishpodcast. Instagram is @scarishpodcast. And Twitter is @scarishpod. So reach out to us if you have a story, or when we're reading these topics, if you're like, you know what, I had an experience with that, or one of my family members did, or anything like that. I have a feeling Robin's topic might have some folks think of some stories to share with us. I would be more than happy to hear what you folks have to say. But before we get too deep into that, Robin, why don't you go ahead and lead out with the first topic of the show?
All right, so now if you guys haven't realized or noticed that we're from Las Vegas yet, now you know, because I'm telling you. And if you've noticed, a hashtag of grasshopper invasion is trending or has been trending.
I really feel like it should be grasshopper apocalypse, because it's not just
it's not
an invasion.
Apocalypse, though.
It's pretty bad out here.
Are you dead?
I
You're
mean,
still
they
alive.
call everything apocalypse. Like, a snowstorm's going to show up, snowpocalypse.
That's just because it sounds good.
No, okay, so does grasshopper apocalypse. Grasshopperlypse.
No. You're wrong. Anyway, yeah, it was very surprising when I went on Twitter one day and it was the #1 trending thing. I was so mind blown. I hadn't even noticed too many grasshoppers yet myself, because they don't hang out in the suburbs, I feel like. You know what I mean?
I think it all just depends. I can tell you that I went out for a beer after work. I was leaving the bar, and they were all over the walls. And I was like, I had some drinks with some coworkers, and my boss was like walking to her car, and she kept stopping, like she was terrified and was like screaming. I'm like, they're just grasshoppers, dude. Like, just keep walking forward.
I've had one fly like at my mouth, so I'm good with hating on the grasshoppers just a little bit.
I had one jump into the car when we went to Starbucks yesterday, in fact, and it just like landed on me. It's like, take me with you. And you were like screaming, like you freaked out like we were about to be murdered. And I was like, stop screaming. And I just reached down and just grabbed him and just threw him out the window. Like, they're not dangerous. There's just a lot of them. But yeah, it's been a little bit strange out here.
Yeah. Las Vegas has been the subject of many an internet meme recently because of the ridiculous grasshopper population this week. And at work, I think it must have been on Friday or something like that, but I went out. We went to GPS a few things on where I work, and it's outside, and there are bushes everywhere. It's Vegas. There's desert foliage, and hundreds of grasshoppers were hiding in these bushes. And so anytime you would walk past any of the bushes, hundreds of grasshoppers would just fly out of them at you.
They're like grasshopper bombs is what they are at that point.
It was horrifying. And there were so many places they were. And in order to get back to the car, you had to walk through a bunch of these bushes. And so you'd walk past a bush, hundreds would fly at you from one direction, and then you would keep walking, trying to get to the car. I'm just screaming my head off. And the next bush, hundreds would fly out. And they're just big little rocks that kind of hit you. Because they're not pebbles, you know, they're not tiny, but they're hard. And they just smack into you. And they're frightening.
It's like they jump in a direction and they go pretty quick. So if they hit you, it's going to be like a solid whack. But I don't know. It's like, I don't really find them scary, probably because I grew up around a bunch of them. And I remember once back home, like, we had a fuck ton of grasshoppers, and I was like mowing my parents' lawn, and they were just flying everywhere to get out of the way. And it's like I was their apocalypse. You know what I mean? Like, the lawnmower was coming, and it was like the end of their world because I was cutting down like tall grass. And they're just all jumping out of the way as I mowed over everything. And then, you know, they'd like eventually settle back in like, what happened to our homes? So this is like the second time I've had a grasshopper apocalypse in my lifetime. But it's definitely the weirdest one.
I've
I did not
never
see this shit coming at all.
experienced it before. And so this was super strange to me. It's just been an unnatural thing to experience because they're everywhere. When if you haven't seen any videos yet, go look up videos about the Vegas Strip because they are absolutely everywhere. I saw a video tonight where they were in the light of the Luxor. It's like the light that comes out of the big pyramid on the Strip, and it looks like an alien invasion.
It looks awesome. Like, without a doubt.
Scary.
It's one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
But articles that we read were saying this happens every such and such amount of years, but we've lived here for 7 years and have never experienced anything like this.
I've been here for like 8.5.
And
some lady was saying she's been here for like 30 years, wasn't she?
She said 39 years.
Wow.
She's never experienced it. And I've talked to people around here that they said they've lived here for over a decade and they've never experienced anything like it. But articles that I were reading were saying other places have it fairly often, like Laughlin, Arizona area, you know, but I don't know, never experienced it myself, so it's strange. But since grasshoppers have been showing up, we've been joking that the swarms are almost plague-like in nature because it's absolutely unbelievable. And they say it's because of an unusually wet winter and an unusually cool spring out here in Vegas. And grasshoppers have just been able to procreate like crazy. And supposedly, the groups of grasshoppers that have been out here have shown up on the weather radar.
Wow.
That's how many grasshoppers there have been.
That's insane.
Yeah.
I did not know that. The grasshoppers, though, shout out to them. Getting it in, getting it done.
Oh my gosh.
It's their time right now.
It's just incredible how do they show on a weather radar? You know what I mean?
They're basically like giant clouds, aren't they?
The National Weather Service was literally saying that grasshoppers are showing up like it's torrential rain. Like how torrential rain would look like on the radar is how it shows up. And it's absolutely ridiculous. And just so you guys know, by wet spring, it's only 4.63 inches of rain. Only 4.63 inches compared to the usual 2.38.
So double. It's like double
but
the
it's
amount
just,
almost. Still not very
still
wet.
Not a lot of, yeah, and it's just ridiculous. And it doesn't sound very wet at all, but apparently it's enough for these creatures to take over a city. And
I heard one's the mayor now. Like, that shit's crazy.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
100% believe it.
It's Mayor Grasshopper. That's his name.
Oh, yeah, Hopper?
Yeah, everyone calls him Hopper. Everyone loves him. That's what he ran on. That was his campaign.
These aren't locusts, though, so nothing too scary to worry about. Apparently, they're absolutely harmless. Not to me, because I've had one fly at my face, and they are not harmless. PTSD when it comes to grasshoppers. I hate them. They only bite when really provoked, so if you're, like, trying to hurt it, I guess. But you threw one out the window, and it didn't bite you.
I have legitimately had grasshoppers, like, jump onto me before in my life. I have never been bit, like, ever. I didn't even know they could bite until you guys were talking about it.
Yeah, I didn't know they could bite either.
Looking up stuff about grasshoppers, I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Like, they bite leaves of grass. Like, I've never heard of a person being bit by a grasshopper, but then again, like, they don't really land on people that often. I feel like they run into them sometimes, but they don't, like, deliberately jump onto someone to, like, hitch a ride or anything like that. So that's just, like, my experience with grasshoppers, at least.
Yeah, I haven't had a lot of interaction with them, so I'm not sure. But if you've ever been bitten by a grasshopper, let us know how that feels like, because I just can't imagine.
I bet you can jump really high now. Get it? Like Spider-Man, but with grasshoppers.
What else do grasshoppers do that's really cool?
Take over cities? I don't know.
Oh my gosh. Okay. No. I was going to say, do they fly really well? But
They like hover. They have wings. They can fly, but it's more like, it's like when you're playing a video game and you like tap A to get your double jump. I feel like that's what grasshoppers have.
Because they have like ridiculously strong legs. They never skip leg day.
They can jump far. They never skip leg day. They can jump far, then their wings skitter, and it's like they get like that extra boost, but they always like seem to land after that one. So I'm pretty sure they only get one double tap. So
Okay. So our modern day plague has inspired me to look into incidences or occurrences of a similar nature, just strange things that have happened that just don't make sense. There have to be odd things like this that have happened all over, and I wanted to find out what, because I've heard of things that have happened and it's just, I don't believe them, you know? It's hard to believe strange things like that happen. I've never heard of this grasshopper invasion ever happening, but it happens.
And now when you tell someone like a few years down the line, they're going to say that you're full of it until you make them Google videos to prove that you're
Oh, it's photoshopped.
When I was a kid, man, like you couldn't tell someone something happened like that was incredible and have them buy it. Like you have to have friends that believed you, because there wasn't like YouTube and cell phones where you could just be like, see here, I'll prove it. I remember telling a kid, like, I went to Florida for my summer vacation, and I went to a place called Ripley's Believe It or Not. And in there, they have, like, all these crazy things. And that kid flat out told me, like, you're a liar. You're lying right now. I was like, no, I'm really not. Like, it's a place. Like, they're all over the place. And they were just flat out like, Adam Diaz lies. It's like, fuck you, I hope you die. Like, I don't know why you're so mean about this, but like kids nowadays, they don't have to deal with that shit. They just take out their phone and Google Ripley's Believe It or Not. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Or they show them a picture. Like, I took this picture on my vacation with my awesome cell phone. It's like back in the day, I had to like draw something on like bark with like charcoal, because that's all we had. We didn't have crayons or any of that shit. So, just saying.
Nice. Good job. Okay. What seems to be a pretty common occurrence is the washing up of scores of dead herring on beaches all over the world. And it makes me really sad to think about, because they're such a big part of that ocean ecosystem where so many other creatures eat them and rely on them. So if thousands, hundreds of thousands of them are washing up on shore dead, that's reducing the amount of food that all the other creatures have. And it's like a domino effect. You know what I mean?
It's so weird when like a giant group of animals just drops dead for some reason. You know what I mean? Like, I can imagine, at least when it comes to things that are aquatic, like maybe there was some sort of like underwater geological event and like all of a sudden a giant school of fish died. You know what I mean? But like,
Right.
How the hell do you know?
So in 2012 in Norway, there were tens of thousands of herring that blanketed an entire area of the northern coast, and it was estimated to be 20 or so tons worth of fish.
Wow.
It's a lot of fish. And they appeared on New Year's Eve, which led people to assume that it was a storm that had hit Norway on Christmas Day. But be that as it may, I wonder how a storm that happened on Christmas could cause that many fish to wash up on shore a week later, you know?
Yeah, it's really weird to think that a storm would affect like the sea underneath enough where it would kill how many tons?
20 tons.
20 tons of fish?
Yeah.
Like, was it stabbing lightning bolts like super deep into the ocean?
Who knows? Nature is a very strange thing, you know, and you can't really control it. It does what it wants with its body.
Wow.
Weirder still is that while locals were planning a major cleaning effort of the shore before the fish began to decay and get all gross, the fish just disappeared. So all the fish disappeared.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
That's nonsense. You're lying right now.
Some people say the tide took it all out, but it took it in and left all this fish on the shore. Wouldn't it have just taken it out
Like right
periodically,
away?
even just like taking fish out if the tide changes? But it all just disappeared.
Well, was it like on the beaches for a couple days, or did it like show up one night and then the next day they checked and it's like, oh shit, like nature cleaned it, no big deal?
I'm pretty sure it was on the beach for a few days and they wanted to clean it up before it started to get real gross and stanky and just blah. So they were planning on cleaning it up, and when they went out there to check on it, everything was gone. So I think that's really strange.
It's a lesson learned. If you ignore your problems, they'll go away.
That's messed up. Okay. In 2015, American shad, a species of herring, were found washed up on beaches along the coast of Florida. And some thought that it might be the fault of red tide, which is a discoloration of seawater caused by the bloom of toxic red dinoflagellates.
Like algae? Isn't it red algae?
Yeah, so it looks like a toxic, algae that grows on the surface of the water.
Right on. It's a good thing that nature's nice enough to warn you, kind of like how all those evil creatures have red eyes. It's like, okay, we're going to make this poison stuff, but we're going to make it red so you know to avoid it. That's my nature voice, by the way.
That's your nature voice? The condescending sound?
Yeah, when nature was creating something like, oi! Like, let's make this red.
So this idea of the red tide seems to get ruled out by the fact that the only fish that was affected was the herring. You know, if it was a red tide, everything would have gotten washed in, not just this one type of fish. And it happened in 2016 and then again in 2017 in Nova Scotia, Canada, where thousands of fish were washed up on St. Mary's Bay. And that all happened within a week. All the fish washed up.
Wow.
So it's really weird that all over the world, herring just like to die. I don't know why. It's weird.
They must be really into like suicide cults or something like that.
They cause their own. They create their own schools, their own cult schools, and they're like,
it's not,
"We're gonna do this, guys. We're gonna get to that beach."
It's not red algae. It's actually underwater Kool-Aid, and they all drank it, and then it spilled everywhere.
Anyway, in 2018, nearly 100 tons of dead herring were found washed up over a 150-foot stretch of Pilton Bay on Russia's Sakhalin Island. And there were 28 different clusters of the fish. And some areas of the washed up fish were 12 inches thick. So 12 inches thick of a layer of dead herring.
So a foot
deep of dead herring.
That's so gross.
Yeah, 28 different clusters of this fish, and some were a foot deep.
I can't even try and imagine the smell of these beaches when this happens. That's so gross.
Notably, the fish were all of different ages within the same species. So it makes you think that something hit the whole population all at once. Because if it's not an age thing, they didn't age out of it and decide, oh, I'm too old, blah, can't swim anymore, dead. It's all the different aged
Isn't that
fish.
the plot of Finding Dory?
No, that's so sad.
I've never seen it.
What?
You know that. You know that.
You're lame. Anyway, so despite testing, it hasn't been determined just yet what it is that's causing the mass deaths of these herring populations. There's no specific, like, this is it. This is the reason why they keep washing up on shore.
It's bizarre that it's always herring. You know what I mean? It's like they have a genetic kill switch built into them because it doesn't make sense why other things wouldn't also die. Like, whatever you can think of, like Dragon Ball Z characters fighting underwater, and when they clash, it's like that. I mean, that's how I describe it.
Oh, my gosh.
But everything else would die. It wouldn't just be the herring.
Right, yeah.
It's just very weird.
I saw other articles about a bunch of starfish dying and jellyfish, just a whole bunch of different things that have washed up on shore. And like there was one about turtles. That one was really sad. It's weird. These big groups of animals just keep washing up on shore at different times. You know what I mean?
Jellyfish would be like the grossest thing to deal with. Because not only are they jellyfish, but they're like, you can get stung, you know what I mean? Like, you just really can't go and do anything. That reminds me of this story that I was told when I was a kid, and I was like, I think it was like elementary school, like our principal used to read stories over the intercom, and it was about a bunch of starfish washing up on shore, so I'm not just crazy and making a giant leap here. But it was about a kid that was like walking along the shore, like picking up starfish and tossing them back in the ocean, and some adult was like, hey, you're wasting your time, like, you can't make a difference for all of them. And he picked one up and he threw it into the ocean. He's like, but I made a difference to that one. And like, that's the whole story, is like, you can make a difference. And like, I think about that a lot. I thought about it like a couple of days ago, and I was like, I wonder who are my starfish in my life.
Wow.
But it's hilarious that you chose this topic to be like, and then a bunch of them died in the tons. And some asshole threw a few back and thought he did something good.
Anyway, in 2012, on New Year's Day, over 5,000 dead blackbirds fell from the sky. It was the second year in a row for this to happen on the same day in this town in Arkansas.
On the same day?
Yeah.
So 2 years in a row, 5,000 blackbirds dropped dead from the sky.
Mm-hmm.
That's bizarre. That makes no sense.
So an article in National Geographic reasons that the birds died due to loud noises and crashes because it was New Year's Day. You know, fireworks, all that jazz. According to an ornithologist, which is like a bird researcher, right?
Right,
bird
yeah.
watcher. Well, not everyone knows what an
I'm
ornithologist
just saying I agree
is.
with you. I understand.
The only reason why I know that is because I watch this movie called The Decoy Bride, and David Tennant's character writes a book called The Ornithologist's Wife, and it's just about bird watching. I don't know. Anyway, so an ornithologist by the name of Greg Butcher says almost half of birds in North America die every year due to natural causes, which is hard to believe.
5,000 birds die at the same time on the same day.
Well,
2 years in a row.
He was saying just about half the birds in North America die every year, not about the 5,000 birds that fall out of the sky. Okay, but I'm not the scientist here. Whatever you say, Greg. On New Year's Eve of that year, wildlife officers received numerous reports of birds falling from the sky.
I thought you were going to say birds getting fucking hammered and they just couldn't handle it.
And it wasn't just one type of bird, like just the herrings. It was a whole bunch of different birds. A whole bunch. I didn't type down all of them because there were like 6 different types of birds and they're all different pronunciations. So many birds. Okay. Anyway.
We'll just go with birds to blanket it.
Birds. Upon testing of said birds, it seemed like the birds had died of blunt force trauma. And I just want to say that if you're a veterinarian and you can figure out in a body of something so small that they have blunt force trauma, hats off to you.
This
That's
bird
impressive.
looks like it had its skull crushed in by its wife's lover.
What the F?
And then like someone in the office is like, "Yow!"
Oh my
and
God.
takes their glasses off or puts it on. I haven't really watched CSI Miami in 10 years. That show sucks. You didn't get the reference, obviously.
No. So it seems like these birds died upon some type of impact. So they collided into cars, trees, buildings, etc., all those different types of objects that you can just run into. And it seemed to be the result of loud professional grade fireworks. And the same thing happened in Louisiana as well on January 2nd, 2011. So it doesn't make sense.
January 2nd is like
the day after.
Yeah, it's like they made it for a day. I mean, I'm sure there's like other fireworks still going off the next day, but
that's why it doesn't make sense to me. That's why I think it's very strange. And it makes me curious reading it because if these big deaths are happening because of professional fireworks being used, a place like Vegas, sorry, we live here. A lot of my story examples are going to come from here, but we live in Vegas and we have fireworks on the 4th of July and New Year's, things like that. And there are a lot of fireworks, professional fireworks on all the different casino tops. And it's loud. It's foggy, you know, because of all the pyrotechnics, all the smoke, you know.
right.
And a place in Arkansas is having birds fall out of the sky because of it. Why don't we ever have stories of that happening out here, especially when there are a whole bunch of skyscrapers and stuff like that everywhere, you know?
I don't know. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like, I understand that it's a theory, but like realistically, imagine flying over the United States on the 4th of July, like after the sun's gone down. It basically looks like the country has declared a war on birds. You know, everyone's just shooting rockets into the sky that will blow up as big as they can and burn for a while. And it's like, you don't really hear it. None of those dates were July 5th or July 6th. And there's arguably more fireworks on 4th of July. I would make that argument. There's more fireworks like per capita on the 4th of July than on New Year's. So
Really?
It's yeah, dude. Like everyone and their mother is buying some shit to shoot into the air so it can explode. And it's like, not everyone's like, I'm going to get some fireworks for the 4th of July. People are like, I'm going to get fucked up and make bad choices on the 4th of July. But I don't know. It's weird. It's very, very odd that birds would just en masse drop dead from the sky.
Right. There has to be more to it than that, than just loud noises make them disoriented, you know. In India, at the end of every monsoon season in Jatinga, people report birds purposefully crashing into things to death. Apparently, it even causes ornithologists to ponder why they do it. Bird suicide or weather anomaly? I don't know.
It sounds like bird suicide. Again, animal cults.
It's so weird. Okay, so listen to this one. This one's really weird to me. kind of funny, but really weird. The northeastern Indian countryside is overrun by rats every 48 years. Almost like clockwork, every 48 years.
That's weird.
Yeah. It's even been featured in National Geographic, too. And millions of rats cover Mizoram, which is a region bordering Bangladesh and Myanmar. These rats are like those beetles in The Mummy, where whatever they crawl over, they just eat and devour it.
Really? They're just like that?
They're just like that.
Or if they run over you, you're just a skeleton afterwards?
Skeleton. So nothing stands a chance. Crops, they're gone. So people have to make sure they harvest and put everything away before the rats show up.
You know why that happens, right?
Why?
Because every, 48 years?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little bit different than the books, but every 48 years, a killer clown infests the sewers and all the rats are running away from him.
Okay. Scientists never believed the rumors of the rat infestation or rat apocalypse. They never believed the rumors because the length between instances is so long. So they finally witnessed it in 2008. And I wouldn't believe it either unless I saw it. You know what I mean? But apparently there's a 10,000 square foot bamboo forest nearby this area, and it blooms every 48 years, which I didn't know bamboo even did.
I didn't know that happened either.
I seriously learned a lot looking into all this stuff, which is kind of cool. After the bamboo blossoms and flowers, the entire forest drops its fruit all at once, and then the rats just swarm in and eat all the fruit, right? And then rat facts. One female rat leads to hundreds of little baby rats who in 5 to 6 weeks can then start having their own brood of hundreds of rat babies. And by the time all the fruit are gone, there are millions of rats who are on a hunger rampage. So no more fruit from the bamboo forest to eat. They have to go into town and ravage everything else.
That's hilarious.
It's just so crappy.
It's fascinating, though, that this is why this happens.
And then when they turn to the local area for food, they often bring famine and disease with them because rats do what they're going to do.
That's what they do.
And it definitely reminds me...
They bring in that other plague.
It definitely reminds me of plague things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just a crazy thing that happens every 48 years. What are the odds? Well, the odds are every 48 years it's going to happen.
If Brendan Fraser would stop raising that goddamn mummy, this shit would stop happening.
So, have you ever heard of red rain or blood rain? I mean, not the game.
I was going to say, yeah.
Red, like the happenings.
Not the game or the shitty movie.
Anyway, I didn't know about this until today that's a real thing. Blood rain. Blood coming from the sky. This whole blood rain thing, it seems like a whole nother plague-like activity. And it has been reported since the 8th century BC. So it's been since the time of the Iliad. It's been,
it's a pretty good call
written
out.
about.
Way to drop that name.
Thanks.
Since Odysseus, what's up, Odysseus? Hit me up.
What the hell?
He's the main character.
What's funny is before the 17th century, people actually believed it was blood, which I would have too back then. It's like bad omens, blood coming from the sky. We're all going to die. But it was understandably looked at as a bad omen at one point. In Germany, a rain of blood seemed to be one of the omens before the arrival of the Black Death in 1348 to 49. That's frightening.
When those things sync up, it certainly seems like it's an omen of like ill things to come.
Yeah, so we have the grasshoppers. Blood rain's next, right?
I hope not. I'm not getting my car washed that often. Stupid blood rain.
So the thing with blood rain is sometimes it'll last a short period or it can last days. It just depends.
Does it come once a month?
Oh my god. Shut up. You're horrible.
That was a stupid joke.
Okay. When blood rain came down on Puglia in southern Italy on March 7th, 1803, they put the cause to the eruption of one of Italy's volcanoes. So Vesuvius or one of the other ones. I don't know any other ones. But they blamed it on the volcanoes, the ash, things like that, getting into the air. Or even some type of material from the sea floor vaporizing. And there really isn't a solid explanation. So they're like, it could be this. It could be this. but we're not
rained
really
red,
sure.
okay? We don't know. We don't know what the hell's going on.
It's most recently happened in Kerala, India in 2001 and 2012. So that's not that long ago. And a study for the reason behind the blood rain hasn't led to anything concrete. So the fact that it's been written about for centuries makes me really curious. You know, it's happened for so long, and we still don't really know exactly what causes it. And a study in 2015 had established it to be some aerial spores of some sort of green microalgae. So just things that live in the air, spores in the air. It isn't known how the clouds, though, that contain this algae travel, and how the algae travels through it, because it rained in one area with this algae that was not native to the area. It was from a completely different area entirely. So they're wondering, how does it do that? Which is just nature doing its thing, being weird. And it's even thought to be the whole red rain thing is some unidentified life form without any type of DNA even. So
sounds alien to me.
Yeah.
I'm going with aliens on literally every one of these things.
Other reasoning revolve around meteor dust or like the spores, things like that. I just think it's so crazy that happens. If there's no real explanation, what can you do? You know, it's real. It happened. The fact that there's evidence. There is witnesses that say, bro, this red rain seriously came down. Blood red. It's just creepy. And don't even get me started on that spider season. Like,
the Australia spider rain?
I can't even.
No thanks.
Yeah. So, also just a random smattering of other things that are strange and plague-esque, but probably completely innocent and coincidental, are fish and frogs raining from the sky in Japan. There was even a shark that fell onto a Southern California golf course in 2012.
That's where they got the idea for Sharknado.
Shut up.
Pretty sure.
Really?
Yeah, I actually think that's true.
That's hilarious. I believe it, 100%. So, lots of strange things have happened, and it's just like nature has a sick sense of humor.
Yeah.
It just likes to make us go, what? But yeah, those are my strange nature occurrences.
Really good.
Thanks.
Growing up in the Midwest, in Northwest Indiana, in a place just filled with cornfields, I remember hearing the story when I was a kid. It was one of my uncle's friends, which means, you know, it's obvious bullshit, but it supposedly said that this kid was young and he was in the field with his parents because they were farmers and they were growing corn, and they had a really bad crop that year, and all of a sudden it started raining ears of corn. And
no way.
The kid was like, it's a miracle. Like, he was so excited. And then his parents like grabbed him and they started running.
Oh.
Because they knew, like, it's
it was
not
a tornado.
Miracle, you idiot. It's a tornado in the next county ripping through the cornfields, flinging the corn through the air at like hundreds of miles an hour. And the guy said that by the time they got home to their storm shelter, the sky was black. That had just been like normal overcast, and then it was just like, oh yeah, the world's about to end. You should probably get in your storm shelter.
Wow.
So yeah, fun stuff. Like, nature is crazy and it's terrifying, especially when you don't understand it straight up. So good stuff.
Thanks.
All right, I'm gonna move on to mine. And like I said earlier, this week I'll be honest, like, I'm super tired right now. I'm gonna be super tired tomorrow. We've just been quite busy. I'm gonna be super tired all weekend. But that said, I asked the listeners on the Discord to help me pick a topic. And while there were a lot of great topics that got tossed out, I decided to go with one that I kind of recognized. So shout out to Carly for suggesting this. She actually suggested this back in May, and I've had it on my list, and I decided I was going to go for it because I really wanted to find out why it sounded familiar to me. So if any of you folks, by the way, want to join us on Discord, just hit up our website, scarish.com. You scroll down, you'll see all of our icons for our social media. Just click on Discord, and you'll be in there. Or just hit us up on any of our other social medias and say, like, hey, I don't know how to get to the Discord, and we'll send you an invite. That said, this week I will be covering The Haunting of Heidi Wyrick. Now, when I first put down this suggested topic, I thought to myself, like, this sounds really familiar. And I sort of wrote it off because I actually know a few folks when I was growing up that went to the same school as me who had the same surname, Wyrick.
Really?
So I was like, maybe that's why it seems so familiar. And it wasn't until tonight when I started doing some of the research on it and started hearing the story of what happened that it clicked. I first heard about this on Unsolved Mysteries when I was a kid.
No, you did not.
I 100% did. There are a few ones that I've referenced in the show before. This isn't one of the ones I referenced, but when I was reading this, I was like, I totally remember this. I remember the reenactment and how cheesy it was. More importantly, Unsolved Mysteries was a huge inspiration for this show. So I thought it was really cool to come kind of full circle like that. I loved Unsolved Mysteries. And that said, I didn't know this because I haven't seen it, but apparently this story I'm about to tell you has been adapted into the movie The Haunting in Connecticut 2. So
there's a second one?
There's a second one.
Is it on Netflix?
I don't know. It's about the things I'm going to tell you, but of course it's going to be different. Like, if you're going to do this and take this with a grain of salt, if you're going to listen to this story, better make it a double, because every time someone cashes in on their paranormal experience, my skepticism kind of kicks up something fierce. That said, there are some pretty weird details in this story that are supposed to be true, and I completely remember hearing when I was a kid that creeped me out. So if you have seen, and it's funny because in my script here I put The Haunting in Connecticut 2 again, but I didn't type it out. I just used the abbreviation, so it's THIC and then the number 2. So if you've seen Thick 2, which sounds way hotter than it is, I don't know how the real story aligns with the movie. It's always adapted, like I mentioned, so it's usually way different than the true story. Good example is Annabelle. No, the nun. That was the one. The nun that has Frenchie in it. Where it's like, these things do not align whatsoever. Frenchie was a completely different person. I already totally covered that topic, so I know that this movie's stupid. So that said, we're about to get into the true story. And this story starts in 1985. Y'all remember 1985, right? That's right, folks. It's back. One of my favorite segments of the show that I haven't done in a while. Time Capsule. And I wish I had like a Time Capsule theme song right now. Where I do. That's okay. So what was 1985 like? Well, let me tell you. If you needed to fill up your car, you're looking at about $1.12 per gallon. If you wanted to buy a new house, the average cost of a house was $89,330. And if that's too rich for your blood and you wanted to rent, the average rent cost in the United States of America was $375. And what would you see if you settled in on the couch and turned on the old tube, which, by the way, was called the tube because it had tubes in it, meaning the television. It had the cathode ray tubes that could explode. You could just hear your TV pop, and all of a sudden it wouldn't work anymore. Well, if you turn on your TV, you might see something on the news about the earthquake in Mexico City. It was 8.1 on the Richter scale. 9,000 people died. Or maybe you turned it to something happy like a royal baby. Shout out to Prince Harry, who was born in 1985.
Dang.
And if that wasn't your cup of tea...
Wait, you're the same age as Prince Harry?
Yeah. Don't I look better than him? That's right. He looks like a worn catcher's mitt.
You're so...
Anyways, you ruined my joke. I put down, if that wasn't your cup of tea, because of the British. You know, you could go to the movies and watch the new movie Back to the Future, which I absolutely love. Came out in 1985. Or maybe you just turn on the TV to watch the Chicago Bears absolutely dominate the NFL, going 15-1 in the regular season. They won the Super Bowl that year. It was Super Bowl 20 that did take place in 1986. I'm just putting that out there because I'm a huge Bears fan.
Super Bowl shuffle.
And the reason I'm a huge Bears fan is because somewhere in the Midwest, a beautiful baby boy graced the world with his presence on May 11th. That boy would grow up to co-host Scary-ish. Yes, I'm talking about me. I was born in 1985.
Okay.
But me and Harry weren't the only kids born that year. We were the best, but we weren't the only. There were a few others, and one such other was a child named Heidi Wyrick. And the parents of Heidi were thrilled when she was brought into the world, and I put down in parentheses, I assume because they don't really have an interview where they say one way or the other if they're excited, but they weren't disappointed in any of the interviews I read, but who knows. So... what they do say is that when Heidi was 3 years old, so we're going to jump ahead a little bit in this timeline, something very, very odd happened. It was actually the February of 1989. So it's like 4 years later, but she hadn't turned 4 yet, so it's like she's 3 years old. Okay, cool. Heidi came to her mother and said, hey, a man came to the front door, and according to Heidi, the man had white hair, a t-shirt that was covered in blood. He also had a bandage around his entire hand, and that bandage was also soaked in blood. So Heidi told her mother that the man's name was, quote, Con, C-O-N, which is, you know, a totally normal name. And Heidi's mom...
Is it?
No.
Oh, okay.
Heidi's mom, whose name is Lisa, did what any sane, normal mom would do upon hearing this. She locked all her doors and windows. She called her husband and told him to come the fuck home, and then she armed herself with a butcher's knife because Lisa thought some dude was there and was probably trying to snatch up Heidi and kidnap her, and she wasn't about to let that go down.
Hide your wife.
She straight up was hiding her kid, and she called her husband to come home. And not to mention that the person sounds like they're identifying themselves as a convict because their name is Khan, which is just a stupid thing to do if you're trying to kidnap a child, like have a better alias. Her husband winds up getting home. His name was Andy. So we have Andy and Lisa. They decided they were going to go search the neighborhood for someone matching this description. As a side note, if this happens to you, call the police. Don't go looking yourselves. That's silly.
Don't go chasing waterfalls.
Just stick to the lakes and the rivers that you're used to. Okay, folks? And I don't know if they got in their car to search, which would have been the smart way, or if they went full-blown Scooby-Doo style and busted out the flashlights and went on foot, probably waited till it was dark. What I do know is that they came up empty. They didn't find anyone in the neighborhood matching this creepy description of a dude with a bloody bandage on his hand and a white shirt covered in blood calling himself Khan.
It
which
was
is
a
just
ghost.
Weird. C-O-N. I keep spelling it because it's not K-H-A-N, but I'd like to think that when they were done searching and they didn't find him, they're like, Khan! Who knows? So several days after this scare, Heidi comes to her mother and she says that she met another man. My first thought as a parent would be, you're 3. How are you meeting so many people? Like, that's just weird. This gentleman's name was Mr. Gordy, Gordy. So this sounds more like a person than an escaped convict. So Heidi described this man as with white hair, wearing a suit and tie. But here's the thing, as often happens with children communicating something, there was something lost in translation, and Lisa thought that her young daughter had seen the same man again, but that his name was Gordy. So she had learned his last name and was calling him Mr. Gordy. So she thinks it's the same guy who has shown back up. And I think any of us who have had more than a 10-second conversation with a child of 3 or similar age can attest. Sometimes you just want to grab the child and just say to their face, I have no idea what the fuck you're saying right now. Because sometimes the words don't make sense, or they're babbling, or they're really mad at you for some reason, and you can't figure it out. But rather than yell at them, in most cases, we're all not monsters, and we don't do that. We just ask them a question to reset the conversation, or distract them by asking if they want a snack or something like that. So,
do you want a snack?
Lisa starts seeing if anyone in the neighborhood knows someone named Gordy, and they're all like, nah dog, return to sender, address unknown, and as a side note, no such number, no such zone.
Wow.
I couldn't get that song out of my head. I don't know why.
Oh my goodness, that's why you were singing it.
Yep. In fact, these were 2 separate men that Heidi was seeing, not one, but that wouldn't be clear right away. What happened to clear this up was Lisa was talking to her sister about who Heidi had seen and about how creepy it was. And rather than combine the names, she detailed out the 2 sightings, relaying them separately, and it occurred while she was saying that to Lisa's sister that she actually recognized the name Gordy. When it's not attached to Khan and it's Mr. Gordy, you think of someone whose surname is just Gordy. So she had just recently moved into a new house. That house happened to be the next door to where they were living.
Okay.
So her sister is her next door neighbor. So when she said Mr. Gordy, she's like, that name sounds familiar. Let me check around. So she does. And sure enough, she realizes where she remembered it from. The name James S. Gordy was written on the deed to her house because she had just bought that house. So Mr. Gordy had actually lived in the home that was right next to Heidi Wyrick's home. And this was just this shocking revelation. She called up the previous owner, the sister did, a woman named Catherine Ledford. And she asked her about Mr. Gordy. And this is the thing that she was told. His name was James S. Gordy. He was the Sunday school superintendent of the area. And he was almost always wearing a suit. That's what this person remembered about him. And he had white hair. Operative word being had because James S. Gordy had died over 10 years in the past. Now, this is the story as it is told in multiple places on the internet, and this part is taking place in February of 1989 as a reminder. Here's what I was able to find on this person, okay? There was a man that indeed lived, and his name was James Scarborough Gordy. He was born on June 19th, 1888 in Cuesta, Chattahoochee County, Georgia. This person is 100% real. He was a superintendent of the Sunday school at St. Luke Methodist Church, a member of the board at another Methodist church in Ellerslie, Georgia, which is where this takes place, is Ellerslie, Georgia, and a member of the Columbus Chamber of Commerce and Mount Vernon Masonic Lodge.
Wow.
So
very religious man.
This guy had a lot of religion in his life. He was 100% real. His day job was a real estate broker, and he dressed to the nines daily to show folks houses.
Okay.
He was also a former city commissioner, so basically everything about this guy's life had him in a suit. His wife was a lady named Frances Josephine DeLoach. They were married on November 18th, 1914. I found all this information on this guy's life.
Okay.
He was very much real. He wore suits. He had white hair. He lived where the story takes place, and he died at the age of 86 on September 25th, 1974, 15 years before this story takes place. He is buried at the Park Hill Cemetery in Columbus, Georgia, not far from where this house is. So the kid straight up saw a dead guy. So what the fuck happens next, right? Well, the details are a bit different depending on where you read it, but someone comes over to the house. Basically, what I read is that the lady who they called to say, do you know who this guy was, decides to come over and bring some pictures. So they're going to try and see if Heidi can pick out Mr. Gordy. Several of them featured men with white hair, so they thought maybe she'll pick one. It's not correct, and we can all relax. And none of them, in fact, had Mr. Gordy in it. So this is kind of a ruse. So I put down here, 1, kind of shitty playing a trick on a kid. 2, absolutely the right thing to do, especially if this kid has been blowing smoke up your ass successfully and you want to catch him. I mean, that's just what you got to do. This is just testing this. This is a hypothesis. Now we're going to test it. So they bring over the pictures, and Heidi does not see Mr. Gordy in any of these pictures. She's just like, he's not here. So they're going through the pictures, and they're almost done, and Heidi notices one, and she picks it up, and even though she's young, she's like, yo, dogs, this is Con, the first dude that showed up in the white t-shirt with blood all over his shirt and the bloody hand bandage. Catherine picks up the picture she's talking about, and she's like, huh, that's weird. It's her uncle. Her uncle, Lon, L-O-N. The guy's name was Lon Batchelor. Side note, I could not locate his obit or his burial plot, probably because he did pass away earlier, or it's just all bullshit. But Lon died of cancer in 1957. Interesting fact about Lon, when he was 20 years old, he got his hand caught in a cotton gin and lost his hand. That's what she then tells them after seeing the picture. So now people are getting super creeped out. And remember, this girl saw someone with a bandage on his hand covered in blood and blood all over his shirt. We always talk about that whole like traumatic experience thing that rings through time.
Right.
It's like, that would definitely be something where you get your hand ripped off by a cotton gin made by Eli Whitney. I hate that that's burned into my brain, but it is. Thank you, school. Thank you for teaching me. Eli Whitney invented the cotton gin and not how to do taxes. People suck. Okay, I'm going to keep going before I get too triggered.
I didn't learn that in school. So.
It's just something that I learned. I don't know why it stuck. So according to Heidi, who is now grown up, she would see these men nearly every single day from 3 until she was 8 years old.
Wow.
Mr. Gordy she saw every single day. Quote, we would sit and have conversations. He would take me by the hand and we would go swing, which I think is super sweet. Like, this sounds like a pretty nice ghost.
Yeah, until you get murdered by spirits.
Why would you get murdered by spirits because someone's pushing you on a swing just because they're a ghost?
They're like, oh, let me push you. And then he shoves you really hard.
These are dangerous stereotypes you're spreading about ghosts, Robin. I'm just saying, our ghost listeners are probably pretty offended right now. What's funny is they interviewed the mom, and she's like, I remember her talking to people who weren't there, and then she'd hold her hand up like she was holding someone's hand, and then she would get on the swing. And it's like, that's super effing creepy.
That's super creepy. Was she able to pull herself up onto the swing kind of thing?
No, I'm pretty sure she was just floating in the air.
You know, right?
I just imagine she got on the swing and was swinging. My first thought was like, was she going too fast? Like, was she getting like some extra oomph on them swings?
Yeah.
But who knows? So 4 years go by. And this is basically the norm, is that Heidi sees these two ghosts and they just settle in. She sees Con, she sees Mr. Gordy. Everything's pretty cool. And the parents, we get free babysitters and cheaper AC bills in the summer. This is a score. This is a straight up win-win for these people. And then Andy did something. The dad, Andy did something to Lisa, who's the mom. Sorry, I just realized that was like my nefarious tone. I meant to say it a bit differently. Lisa got preggers. So good work, Andy.
I thought it was going to be something where the dad beat her and the ghost was like,
Crushed her
oh, hell
skull
nah,
in,
dog.
cut her hand off. No, he just knocked her up. That's all. I mean, they're married. Good work. So a little time into the pregnancy, a now 8-year-old Heidi was still seeing her friends. She would also see animals that other folks couldn't as well. They thought they were spirits of animals. Now, I will let you pick some settings for this next part of this story.
I get to choose? This is like Goosebumps.
It's a choose your own adventure right now. So I'm going to let you pick the time of day. So just imagine like a house and then have the sun and the moon going back and forth until you settle on one in your mind's eye. So you're picking the time of day because I couldn't find it. What I did find is that an 8-year-old Heidi, so whatever your setting is now, go into the home, was in her family home. So maybe picture your family home, or just like the stereotypical,
I want to picture my family home,
or just the stereotypical family home that you can see in your mind's eye. And she turns to walk down a hallway. So now picture a hallway in your mind's eye. Maybe one from that childhood home. Maybe one from a movie. Maybe it's long and dark. Maybe it's short and illuminated. Who knows? It is your decision. This is the part of the episode that's choose your own adventure, so choose it. What I will say now is you have your time of day, you have your hallway, and imagine Heidi turning and looking down the hallway and seeing a large, dark figure standing there with no discernible features. And this is a little girl who's been able to say, this is what these people look like, this is what these people were wearing, this is their demeanor. It's just more like a silhouette or a shadow. If you could imagine a shadow just like stretched out on the floor, if we're just kind of like stand up out of the floor.
Nope, no.
I knew you'd love that imagery.
No.
And the thing about Heidi is, to her, all of this shit had been normal. She hung out with ghosts. It was fun. But this one was different. And for the first time, Heidi saw something she was scared of. Like on the spot. Not like, hello, what's your name? Straight up like, there is something wrong. And it not only scared her, but she immediately interpreted it as evil, and she freaked out. Her parents said she was hysterical. They could not calm her down. She was so scared. And every time she saw this figure, she was terrified. This featureless dark silhouette of a person that just seemed to have evil intentions towards her and her family. And Lisa and Andrew were super uncomfortable about this, to say the least. Like, it had been fun. It had been cute. At this point, it's getting scary. And they have an actual straight up talk about moving out of the house, which we always say, like, just move, like, get the fuck out of there. You know what I mean? And in one of the most rational counterpoints to that argument, to the whole leaving the situation, someone just brought up, like, if she is a medium, if she has this gift or whatever it is, she's going to see spirits wherever we go.
Yeah.
You know? So they're like, we might as well just stay. So they stayed. And on February 3rd, 1994, Jordan Wyrick was born into the world, Heidi's sister. And things seemed calm at first. And when I say calm, I mean no disrespect to new parents. About as calm as having a newborn baby can be for 2 weeks.
Well, newborn baby plus an 8-year-old.
Yeah. So a couple weeks into Jordan being home, Heidi suddenly was walking around and she had 3 deep scratches on the side of her face.
What the French toast.
And when this was noticed, like, Lisa was scared. Immediately the mom was like, this is scary. There's something seriously wrong here. But the dad, Andy, was just like, it's not a big deal. She probably scratched herself on accident. Kids do that shit sometimes. NBD. Let's concentrate on this baby. Men. I know, right? It's the worst. So 2 nights later, Andy woke up in the middle of the night. I put probably at 3 a.m. We don't know. We can all picture that 3 a.m. is what's showing on that clock, though. Let's be real. What woke him up? Well, a sharp burning in his side.
Oh my gosh, he has scratches too.
He checked to see what it was, and sure enough, he had 3 deep claw marks going around his side and across his abdomen. And I'm not sure if he wrote this off as just another oopsie in the middle of the night, but the next night, he woke up again in pain. This time, it was in his back. And of course, he had 3 deep scratches running down the length of his back. And then the next night, he woke up again, this time with pain in his chest. And he had 3 deep scratch marks running down the length of his chest. Side note, sounds a little hot. Things are getting kind of freaky here. At this point, they were like, we need to straight up call someone. So they dialed the Ghostbusters, and someone answered, and they're like, they are not real. For the love of God, stop calling me. So then they decided to call someone real, and they called a dude named Dr. William Roll, who was intrigued. He's a paranormal psychologist or a parapsychologist, whatever you call them.
You can say that's how he rolls.
I hate you. He came out to see them, and he brought with him several pictures of older gentlemen. He did a bunch of research after they told him what happened, And he found a picture of Mr. Gordy. He found an actual picture. This will be on our Instagram. It's his actual picture.
Really?
I found it. I will put it up there for you to see. And when he showed up, he gave her like a picture lineup, like again trying to trick this kid. And he was basically like, "Which one is it, bitch? Which one?" He like shined a light in her face, like do the whole intimidation thing. And she was like, "Yo, dog, like you need to chill out, my dude. Like get up out my face." "Oh wait, that's Mr. Gordy, isn't it?" And she pointed to one of the pictures, and sure enough, it was Mr. Gordy.
Wow.
It was him. And so Dr. Roll was rocked. Yeah, that's right. My roll pun was better than yours.
Oh, like rock and roll.
Yeah,
I get it
you
now.
it. So this got attention. Like at this point, these things are happening. It's well known. This paranormal psychologist is involved.
Is this what Charlie Puth wrote a song about?
No, I hate you so much. But papers, TV starts showing up. Unsolved Mystery shows up. They run a thing about it. Like 1994 is the first time that this hits the TV. So they're like kind of like celebrities, like the whole 15 Minutes of Fame thing.
Yeah.
They, of course, as happens with people who come out with stories like this, receive a ton of hate, be told that they're like fake. Fame seekers, they're fake, they're lying, they're using their kid, they're exploiting her.
You know, haters gonna hate.
Yeah. I think we all know that, thanks T-Swizzle. So through all of it, it did not calm down though. Heidi continued to see spirits. And Mr. Gordy, at some point, however, did just stop showing up, which is sad because it was like her friend.
Maybe it's something where finally someone knows who I am because they found his picture. You know what I mean? It might be.
And honestly, like the more research I did, it seems like Dr. Roll didn't do a whole lot more than show up, take some readings, quote unquote, confirm the haunting and the little girl's abilities, and then do some TV spots, a documentary appearance here and there.
Okay.
Which is kind of annoying because then the next thing I read was an interview in 2008 with Heidi, age 22.
Wow.
She is quoted as saying, quote, "You'll have people that believe you 100%, and then some people who think you're crazy. There's no in between. As a side note, I believe you a rock hard 65% of the way." So I'd say I'm in between on that one. She also said, quote, "Most of the time I've learned to keep it to myself, and I really don't even notice it. You get used to seeing things after a while," which is just
that just reminds me of the end of Sixth Sense again. Where the kid's just like...
Oh, he's standing next to my window type thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, that part's super creepy. She also states that she wishes she did not have this as part of her life. And this is her quote, every day, I wish these things wouldn't have happened because my life would be so much different. I wouldn't be known for something like this." So it's not like she revels in it, but that's the words that come out of her mouth in 2008, okay? So another sad postscript to the story, in 2012, Andy Wyrick, the dad, passes away. He was 45 years old.
Wow,
he was super young. It's very sad. And it's weird to think that you could get used to seeing stuff like that if you were a kid and you grew up with it. But realistically, maybe you could. And it's really sad to think that Mr. Gordy and even Khan stopped coming around. But you know who didn't stop coming around? The Shadow. The Shadow still comes around.
I thought it was going to be your
She
dad.
still sees the Shadow. That would be super sweet. That's how the movie would play out if it was real. So she's seen it ever since she saw it the first time when her mom was pregnant.
That's freaking frightening.
And I wonder if something like that can at some point become familiar to the point where it's almost comforting to see. You know what I mean? Like something terrifying, like you see it all the time and you're like, your dad's gone and you still see this thing. Like, I don't know. That's where my head went. And for her sake, I hope that is the case. But like I said, they did cash in. Whoever had the rights to this story cashed in with Thick 2, which is the haunting in Connecticut 2. So I don't know. It's a very interesting story. It sincerely is. But like I always say, it could all be bullshit. So I leave it up to you to decide. And if you've already seen The Haunting in Connecticut, you know how different what I just told you is from that movie. And now I need to go watch The Haunting in Connecticut 2.
Me too.
To see how significantly different. Because I can tell you just by looking through the credits, I didn't see anyone named Khan. I didn't see any shadow figure. I just saw someone named Mr. Gordy. So if they made Mr. Gordy the bad guy,
I'll be
gonna
sad.
be kind of pissed off because he was supposed to be like her best friend for a very, very long time and like an actual dude who was like a staple of a community who I couldn't find a single bad thing written about him. So that's it though. That, my friends, is The Haunting of Heidi Wyrick. So I hope you enjoyed it. That's what I got for you.
Thank you. Good job.
Good stuff. Thank you, Carly, for suggesting it. Thank you to all the folks on Discord who tossed out suggestions. Even if your stuff doesn't get picked, we have a Google Doc that we toss all of our potential topics up onto so that we can like have inspiration for the moments where we're just really, really tired and we need to have like a topic come out. So again, one more time, thank you. You can send us topic suggestions through any of our ways to reach out to us. And if you want to join our Discord, again, go to scarish.com, scroll down on the right-hand side. You will see the link. Click on it, and it should take you straight to the server. Or just let us know, like, hey, I want to join. How do I do that? And we'll just send you a link to click, and it should just take you right there. So thank you so much to all you folks. We appreciate you. So I think that's just about everything we have for episode 86. So some quick reminders. If you want to send us your story, email storytime@scarish.com, or any of our social medias, reach out to us, facebook.com/scarishpodcast. Twitter is @scarishpod, and Instagram is @scarishpodcast, or the website scarish.com, and click on contact us. Robin, if folks wanted to donate to us, how can they do so?
If you folks want to support us, go to patreon.com/scarishpodcast. Those are monthly donations. There's a whole bunch of different tiers. Right now I have a promotional code for all our patrons where you get 10% off our entire Teespring store, which is awesome. There's also exclusive summer merch. I think it's kind of cute, just saying.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, the summer icon, the summer logo is the favorite one you've ever designed, correct? Your favorite that you've ever designed.
Except for the fall one that I just finished.
That's coming out? The one that's coming out, have you previewed it for anyone but
only
the patrons yet?
Only on Patreon.
Okay, I will say the fall one that's coming out is by far my absolute favorite. I effing love it so much. So, very looking forward to unveiling that for everyone. And then for anyone who wants to see it, you get early access to all of our content for as low as $1 a month, and you'll be able to see anything we post that's Patreon exclusive as well. So, just one of those things that you can look forward to.
Yeah.
So, exciting stuff. There's another way to donate to
if
us,
you
correct?
go to ko-fi.com/scarishpodcast, those are one-time donations, and all those donations help us upgrade our studio setup, as well as our little computer that runs everything.
Yeah, we're hoping to get a more stable rig going on, because right now we are kind of dependent on the laptop, and it's been serving us well. Shout out to Asus and Republic of Gamer. I'm going to say it every single episode because it's gone so well.
They don't sponsor us.
They don't sponsor us, but they make it possible for us to have this, so I do appreciate them sincerely. But
we've been having a lot of car issues and things like that.
We've had life hit us really hard.
Life's been rough.
I sent Robin a gif of Bugs Bunny punching someone in the face, like repeatedly, like his face is a punching bag. And I was like, in this, like, I'm the dude. Like, I'm the dude's face. Like, that's how I feel. And Bugs Bunny is life right now. So, we appreciate every single one of you. Thank you so much for listening to the show. Thank you to all our patrons who support us and everyone who comes out for the Wednesday episodes and watches us live. It's a great time. It's a great thing, and we appreciate the community that's built up around us. And you guys support us, and we love you for it. So that's it. I think that's everything we have for episode 86. So, Robin, go ahead and sign us out.
Keep on creeping on, and we'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.